Sign them. I want you out by morning." Amara's hands trembled as she looked at the thick stack of legal documents that had just landed in her lap. Her husband stood in the doorway of their Amalfi Coast villa, his silhouette carved against the Mediterranean sunset, his jaw set like granite, his eyes cold as the marble floors beneath her bare feet. "Victor, please, just tell me what you think I have done." His laugh was bitter, a sound she had never heard from him in all their years together. "What I think you have done. I saw you, Amara. I saw you with him, my own brother, in that hotel room in Rome, his hands on your face, you crying in his arms, the blood drained from her face." The hotel. Dominic. Oh, God. That was not what you think. Do not insult me with explanations. I gave you everything. My name, my empire, my heart, and you repaid me by sleeping with Dominic. I never slept with your brother. She rose to her feet, the divorce papers scattering across the white sofa. "Victor, you have to listen to me. What you saw was not what you think it was. I'm done listening." His voice dropped to something more dangerous than shouting, a quiet finality that froze her blood. "My lawyers will contact you about the details. Lucia stays with me during the school year. You can have summers and holidays. That is more than you deserve." He turned to leave. "Victor." Amara grabbed his arm, her fingers wrapped around the sleeve of the man she had loved for 12 years. The man who was now looking at her hand like it belonged to a stranger who had broken into his life. "After 12 years, you will not even let me explain? You should have thought about our 12 years before you destroyed them." He walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot in the silence of their home. Amara Castellan stood alone in the villa she had designed from the ground up, surrounded by evidence of a life that was already becoming past tense, and she wondered how love could transform to hatred so completely, so irrevocably, without even the dignity of an explanation. Have you ever been accused of something you did not do by the one person who should have trusted you most? Have you ever watched someone you loved become a stranger because of secrets that were not yours to tell? Have you ever wondered if truth could survive long enough to matter? Stay with me, because what Victor Castellan was about to destroy, and what he would eventually discover at the greatest possible cost, reveals how assumption murders what communication could have saved. This is Billionaire Love Stories with Mr. Brad, and I'm about to take you inside a story where love, suspicion, and devastating misunderstanding collide in ways that will shatter your heart before they heal it. But before we go any further, I need you to understand something about what you just witnessed. That was not simply a divorce, that was an execution. Victor Castellan had decided his wife was guilty, and he had delivered the sentence without ever hearing her defense, without asking a single question, without giving her the chance to explain the context that would have changed everything. But here is what makes this story different from every betrayal narrative you have ever heard. Amara Reyes was innocent. Completely. Utterly. Devastatingly innocent. And the affair Victor thought he witnessed? It was actually the most selfless act of love anyone had ever performed for him. The woman in his brother's arms was not betraying him. She was trying to heal a wound that had been bleeding for nearly a decade. She was trying to give him back the brother he thought had stolen from their dying father. She was risking everything to repair a family fracture that had defined Victor's entire adult life, and he destroyed her for it. If only he had asked one single question. Just one. The answer would have brought him to his knees with gratitude instead of rage. But Victor Castellan did not ask questions. He drew conclusions. He gathered evidence that confirmed what he already believed. And he executed judgment with the same cold efficiency he brought to hostile business negotiations. That photograph he took through the cracked hotel door, it showed exactly what he thought it showed. His wife in his brother's arms, both of them crying, the intimacy of shared emotion written across their faces. But what the photograph did not show was the medical documents on the table beside them, the specialist's card by the phone, the pill bottles lining the bathroom counter, the context that would have revealed Dominic was dying of pancreatic cancer, that Amara had just been present when he received the news that his experimental treatment was no longer an option, that she was holding him because he had just learned he had months, maybe weeks to live. Victor saw betrayal because he expected betrayal. He expected it because betrayal was the story he had been telling himself about his brother for 8 years. and Amara became collateral damage in a war that began long before she ever entered Victor's life. To understand how we arrived at this catastrophic moment, we need to go back. Back to when Victor Castellan was not the cold executioner delivering divorce papers. Back to when he was a young entrepreneur whose ambition was matched only by his capacity for devotion. Back to when Amara Reyes saw not his wealth but his wounds and chose to love him anyway. But first, we need to understand the wound that made Victor who he was. The original betrayal that taught him trust was dangerous, and people always leave. Victor Castellan was 7 years old when his mother walked out. He remembers the day with the clarity that trauma provides. The suitcases by the door, his father's face gone pale and rigid, his mother kneeling down to his height, her perfume filling his nostrils as she explained she was going on a trip. She never came back. His father never recovered. Alessandro Castellan had been a warm man before his wife left. After, he became a fortress, emotionally unavailable, demanding, cold. He poured everything into his hospitality business because buildings could not abandon you. Properties could not wake up one morning and decide they did not love you anymore. Young Victor learned the lesson without anyone teaching it directly. People leave. The ones who stay are family. The ones who leave are dead to you. There is no middle ground. Then there was Dominic, Victor's younger brother by 3 years. The charmer, the favorite. Where Victor was serious and driven, Dominic was light and effortless. Where Victor earned their father's grudging respect through achievement, Dominic seemed to receive affection simply by existing. Victor loved his brother, but he resented him too. And that complicated love would eventually become the foundation for the greatest misunderstanding of his life. When Alessandro Castellan began dying slowly of heart failure, Victor was 32 years old and building an empire. His boutique hotel in Seville had just received international recognition. Expansion opportunities were flooding in from every direction. He was too busy to be present at his father's bedside. He told himself his father understood. Business was the language they shared. Achievement was how Castellan men showed love. Dominic, meanwhile, quit his job in marketing, moved back to the family estate, spent every day at their father's side, reading to him, managing his medications, holding his hand through the long nights when pain made sleep impossible. Victor visited when he could, which was not often, and every visit he noticed his father's eyes seeking Dominic first, tracking his younger son with a tenderness that had never been directed at Victor. Then came the discovery that shattered everything. Victor was reviewing the family company's financial statements when he noticed the discrepancy. Large transfers from the corporate account to a personal account in Dominic's name. Hundreds of thousands of euros over the span of 6 months. His blood went cold. He confronted his brother in the garden of their father's estate. The old man was sleeping upstairs, oxygen tubes trailing from his nose, the rattle of his breathing audible through the open window. "You have been stealing from him." Victor's voice was ice. Dominic's face went through several expressions: surprise, pain, then something that looked almost like resignation. "I have not stolen anything. I have the bank statements, transfers to your personal account. While our father lies dying upstairs, you have been draining the company." Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "Father gave me that money directly. It was his choice." Victor's laugh was harsh. "His choice? To give you hundreds of thousands while he is too weak to even sign his own name? You expect me to believe that? I expect you to ask him yourself. I am not going to bother a dying man with your lies. I know what I saw in those statements." Dominic stepped closer. His eyes were wet now. "Victor, please, let me explain what that money was for, why father wanted me to have it. I do not want your explanations. I want you to admit what you did." The silence between them stretched. "Father understood," Dominic finally said. "That is all I can tell you." Those words, "Father understood," they became the knife that severed the brothers permanently. Victor interpreted them as confession without remorse. Dominic was admitting he took the money and hiding behind their father's alleged approval. The approval of a man too sick to contradict whatever story Dominic invented. "Get out," Victor said. "I do not want to see you at his funeral. I do not want to see you ever again." Dominic left. 2 weeks later, Alessandro Castellan died in his sleep. Victor was there at the end, holding a hand that had never held his with warmth. Dominic was not there. He had honored his brother's demand. The question Victor never asked. The question he should have asked before delivering his verdict. What was that money actually for? Why did their father give it directly rather than through the company? The answer would have changed everything. Alessandro Castellan had given Dominic that money as payment for care, as gratitude for a son who had sacrificed his career to be present, as acknowledgement that Victor's achievement came at the cost of absence and Dominic's presence came at the cost of opportunity. It was not theft. It was the opposite of theft. It was a father's final gift to the son who showed up. But Victor never asked, and Dominic, wounded by his brother's refusal to even hear his explanation, never pushed. The brothers stopped speaking entirely. 8 years of silence. 8 years of a wound that infected every relationship Victor formed afterward. This is the man Amar Reyes was about to meet. A man with extraordinary capacity for love and equally extraordinary capacity for cutting people off completely. A man who divided the world into loyal and disloyal, with no room for misunderstanding in between. A man who would one day see his wife in his brother's arms and make a decision that would cost him everything. Now you understand why Victor reacted the way he did in that hotel hallway. Why the photograph of Amara and Dominic's embrace triggered not investigation but execution. Why his certainty was so total and his devastation so complete. He was not just seeing his wife with another man. He was seeing his wife with the brother who had already proven himself capable of betrayal. The brother who took from their dying father. The brother who confirmed every fear Victor had about trust and loyalty and the danger of letting people close. Amara never stood a chance. Not because her explanation was weak, but because Victor never gave her the opportunity to provide one. Before we continue into the love story that Victor was about to experience and eventually destroy, I want to ask you something. Have you ever made a permanent decision based on a temporary observation? Have you ever been so certain about something that you never bothered to ask if you were right? Comment below and tell me, I have been Victor, or I have been Amara, because I guarantee most of us have been both at different points in our lives. And if this story is already gripping you, if you need to know how this ends, hit that subscribe button now, because what is coming next will break your heart in the best possible way. Now let us go back 14 years, to the moment when everything began. Barcelona, the Architecture and Design Expo filled the Fera Convention Center with creative minds from 40 countries, all competing for attention, investment, the elusive approval of industry giants who could transform a career with a single endorsement. The energy was electric, desperate. The smell of coffee and ambition hung in the air as thousands of designers, architects, and entrepreneurs pitched their visions to anyone who would listen. Amara Reyes was not there to compete. She was there to survive. At 26, she had already lost both parents to a car accident that happened on a rainy highway outside Madrid. She had burned through her savings trying to save her father's failing construction business, honoring his memory by keeping his company alive, even when keeping it alive was slowly killing her. She had taken a job with a prestigious design firm that paid well but claimed credit for everything she created. Her concepts appeared in magazines with other people's names attached. Her innovations earned awards that sat on other people's shelves. The expo was her moonlight project, a portfolio assembled on weekends and late nights. Concepts she had developed in secret because her employment contract prohibited outside work. She was risking her job by being here at all. Her booth was small, a folding table tucked between chrome installations from better-funded competitors. Her display was handmade, poster boards with carefully printed designs because she could not afford the digital screens everyone else was using. Her dress had been purchased secondhand and carefully tailored to look more expensive than it was. She had spent hours with a needle and thread, adjusting the fit until it projected a confidence she did not feel. She was invisible. People walked past her booth without slowing down, their eyes drawn to the flashy presentations and the famous names. Nobody stopped to look at the work of an unknown designer with a handmade display and a borrowed table. Nobody except him. Victor Castellan was 30 years old, dark-haired with intensity in his eyes that made him look older. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Amara's monthly rent, and he moved through the expo with the confidence of someone who belonged anywhere he chose to be. He stopped in front of her display. She noticed him, noticed her work, watched his eyes move slowly across her hotel interior concepts. Spaces designed to make travelers feel not accommodated but home. Rooms that breathed. Common areas that invited conversation. Bedrooms that felt like returning rather than arriving. He did not move for 15 minutes. Amara watched him, uncertain whether to speak or let him look. Most people glanced and moved on. This man was studying, reading not just the designs but the philosophy behind them. These are extraordinary. His voice was deep, certain, the voice of someone accustomed to being heard. Who designed them? I did. Amara lifted her chin, preparing for the dismissal that usually followed when people discovered she was young, unknown, and operating without the backing of a major firm. The dismissal did not come. Where did you train? Universitat Politècnica de Catalunya. But most of what I know, I learned rebuilding my father's projects when his contractors abandoned them. The words came out before she could filter them. Her father's construction company had been plagued by unreliable partners, people who took deposits and disappeared, left projects half-finished and families stranded. Amara had learned to complete what others abandoned, to work with whatever materials remained, to create beauty from the wreckage of broken promises. Victor's eyes shifted from her display to her face, really seeing her for the first time. You rebuild what others abandon? Something in his tone made the question feel like more than curiosity about her professional background. Someone has to. The words hung between them. Victor was quiet for a long moment, and Amara saw something flicker across his features. Recognition, pain, the shadow of a memory she did not yet understand. I am acquiring a property in Seville. His voice shifted into business mode. Historical building, beautiful bones. But the previous designers failed to understand its soul. Everyone I have hired approaches it like a museum. I need someone who approaches it like a home. And you think that is me? I think anyone who uses the word home 4 times in 10 design concepts without ever using the word luxury understands something most designers do not. He produced a business card from his jacket. Heavy cardstock, embossed lettering, Victor Castellan, Castellan Hospitality Group. Visit the property. Tell me what you see. If your vision matches mine, we will talk about partnership. Amara's heart stuttered on that word. Partnership. Not employment. Not consultation. Partnership. What if our visions do not match? His smile was slight but genuine, the first warmth she had seen in his expression. Then I will still have met the most talented designer at this expo. That is not nothing. He turned and disappeared into the crowd before she could respond. Amara stood there, holding his business card, feeling the weight of an opportunity she had not dared to dream of. She had come to Barcelona, hoping for a freelance project, maybe a junior position at a firm that would actually credit her work. She had not expected a man like Victor Castellan to see what no one else had seen. That was the beginning. 1 week later, Amara stood in the courtyard of a crumbling palace in Seville. The building had been abandoned for decades. Vines crawled up walls that were once white. Tiles were cracked and displaced. The fountain at the center had long since gone dry, its basin filled with dead leaves and debris. But the bones were extraordinary. Moorish arches framed doorways that opened onto rooms flooded with light. The proportions were perfect, the craftsmanship of another era visible beneath layers of neglect. Victor watched from the colonnade as Amara walked the space, dictating notes into her phone. The fountain is the heart of this space. Every room should feel like it is breathing toward this center. Not grand hallways that treat the courtyard as something to cross. Intimate passages that treat it as something to arrive at. She moved through an archway into what had once been a receiving room. This becomes the lobby, but not a traditional lobby. No reception desk creating barriers. Instead, a living room. Sofas arranged for conversation. Books on shelves that guests can actually take. The check-in process happens while they drink tea. Like arriving at a home where someone is expecting you. Another room, then another. Each space receiving her attention, her imagination, her vision. The guests should not feel like they are staying in a hotel. They should feel like they have inherited a beloved aunt's house in a city that has been waiting for them their whole lives. She finished her circuit and found Victor still watching from the colonnade. His expression was unreadable. Well, her voice was steady, though her heart was racing. Victor was quiet for a long moment. How quickly can you start? The Seville project took 18 months. And during those 18 months of late nights and working dinners and slowly unraveling conversations, Amara Reyes fell in love with Victor Castellan. Not with his wealth, though that was considerable. Not with his power, though that was formidable. With his contradictions. Victor was ruthless in business. She watched him negotiate with contractors who tried to overcharge, with suppliers who missed deadlines, with investors who wanted creative control. He was relentless, uncompromising, willing to walk away from any deal that did not meet his standards. But in private, he was tender in ways that surprised her. She discovered it by accident, arriving early for a meeting and finding Victor in his temporary office, on the phone with his elderly housekeeper back in Italy. "Yes, Maria, I understand." The lawyer said, "What?" "No, that is not acceptable. Tell your son to give me the lawyer's number directly. I will handle this." A pause. "Maria, stop crying. I am not angry with you. I am angry for you. No one should treat families this way over a simple inheritance dispute. You worked in that house for 30 years. You deserve what was promised." Another pause. "Because you are family, Maria. That is why I care. Now give me the number." Amara had backed away quietly, pretending she had not heard. But she had heard, and she began noticing other contradictions. Victor negotiating ruthlessly with contractors, then quietly ensuring the laborers on his projects received fair wages and proper safety equipment. Victor dismissing small talk at business dinners, then spending hours helping a young waiter practice English because the young man dreamed of studying abroad. Victor projecting cold efficiency to the world, then suffering nightmares that woke him sweating and reaching for someone who was not there. She learned about the nightmares later, after the late nights turned into early mornings, after the working dinners turned into dinners without work, after the professional distance collapsed entirely and they stopped pretending they were only colleagues. The nightmares were always about Dominic. "What happened between you?" she asked one evening as they shared wine on the rooftop of the nearly completed hotel. The Seville skyline spread before them, the Giralda Tower golden in the fading light. Victor's jaw tightened. His fingers gripped his wine glass harder. "He betrayed my father, took money from the company while our father was dying, used it to fund a lifestyle he had not earned." The words were clipped, controlled, the voice of someone describing a wound he had long since decided not to reopen. "What happened when you confronted him?" He did not even apologize, just said our father understood, as if that explained anything. "Did your father understand?" Victor set down his glass, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon. "He died 2 weeks later. I never got to ask." The silence between them was heavy with everything Victor was not saying. The years of distance, the questions that would never be answered, the brother-shaped wound that had never healed. Amara learned not to press. She learned that Victor's loyalty was absolute, and his sense of betrayal equally so, that he divided the world into those who stayed and those who left. That second chances were not something he understood how to give. She vowed to be someone who stayed. They married on the first anniversary of the Seville Hotel's opening. In the very courtyard Amara had identified as the property's heart. 300 guests watched. Magazine photographers documented. The design world celebrated the union of the visionary hotelier and the brilliant designer who had transformed his vision into reality. Dominic was notably absent. Amara had suggested inviting him, just once. Victor's response had been so cold, so final, that she never raised the subject again. The wedding vows were traditional. The reception was elegant. But the moment Amara remembered most came late that night, when the guests had gone and they stood alone in the courtyard she had restored from ruins. "One day you will have to forgive him." She said it gently, not pushing, just observing. Victor's arm tightened around her waist. Some things cannot be forgiven. Some betrayals end relationships forever. She did not argue. She simply held him, believing that time would soften what words could not, that his capacity for love, which she experienced daily, would eventually extend to the brother he had cut off. She was wrong about time. She was wrong about many things. The marriage in its golden years was everything Amara had dreamed of and more. The Castellan Empire grew beyond boutique hotels into a hospitality conglomerate spanning 3 continents. Victor's business acumen combined with Amara's design vision created properties that were not just successful but legendary. People did not just stay at Castellan hotels. They experienced them. They returned to them. They built memories in spaces that felt like home. Their daughter Lucia arrived 3 years into the marriage. A difficult pregnancy followed by an easy birth. Victor held his daughter for the first time with tears streaming down his face, and Amara saw the wounded boy inside him finally receive something his own childhood had denied. A family that would stay. Those first years of parenthood were chaotic and beautiful. Victor adjusted his schedule to be present, changing diapers at 3 in the morning, walking the floors with a colicky infant, falling asleep in the nursery rocking chair and waking with their daughter's tiny fist wrapped around his finger. Amara had never loved him more than in those moments. The ruthless businessman brought to his knees by a 7-pound infant. The man who trusted no one, trusting completely in the small creature who depended on him for everything. But empires do not build themselves. And as Lucia grew from infant to toddler to child, Victor's presence began to shrink. It happened gradually. So gradually that Amara did not notice at first. A week-long trip to Dubai became 2 weeks. Then 3, then a month. Nightly phone calls became every other night, then twice a week, then, whenever he remembered. Weekend returns for family time became canceled flights and apologetic voicemails. "I am sorry, my love. The investors need me here through Monday. I will make it up to you." He always made it up to her, with gifts, with grand gestures, with passionate reunions that reminded her why she had fallen in love with him in the first place. But gifts were not presents. Grand gestures were not daily partnership. And passionate reunions could not replace the quiet intimacy of cooking dinner together, of helping with homework together, of simply existing in the same space together. Amara found herself parenting alone more often than not. She told herself this was temporary. The expansion required his attention. Once they were established in Asia, once the Middle Eastern properties were stable, once the new European acquisitions were integrated, he would come home. He was always coming home. Eventually, soon, next month. After this deal, Lucia noticed before Amara admitted it to herself. "Mommy, why is Daddy always leaving?" The question came during bedtime. Lucia was 7 years old enough to track patterns, old enough to feel the absence. "Daddy has an important job, sweetheart. He builds beautiful hotels where people from all over the world come to feel safe and happy. But we want him to be here, so we can feel safe and happy." The simplicity of the child's logic cut through every excuse Samara had been telling herself. "He loves us very much, Lucia. He is working hard so we can have a wonderful life. I would rather have a smaller life with Daddy in it." Amara held her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the trust of her small body pressed against her chest. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." She tried to talk to Victor about it during his brief visits home, over the phone during the rare calls that were not interrupted by urgent business. "Lucia needs you here more. I need you here more. I know. I am working on transitioning some responsibilities. Give me 6 more months." 6 months became 12. 12 became 18. The transitions never quite materialized. There was always another deal, another crisis, another opportunity too important to miss. The partnership she had been promised slowly became something else. She was no longer his design collaborator. Her role had become managing his household, raising his child, maintaining his home life so he could focus on building his empire. She told herself she was fulfilled. She had Lucia. She had the charitable foundation she had convinced Victor to establish, where she directed millions toward education initiatives for underprivileged children. She had a beautiful home and financial security, and the knowledge that her husband loved her even when he was not there. It was not enough. But she did not know how to ask for more without sounding ungrateful, without seeming like the kind of woman who could not appreciate what she had. So she filled the loneliness with purpose, expanded the foundation's work, mentored young designers who reminded her of herself before Victor, built a life within the life that had been promised but not quite delivered, and she waited for her husband to remember that she was not just his wife but his partner. That was the state of the Castellan marriage when the phone call came. Not broken, but brittle. Not loveless, but lonely, the kind of relationship that could survive anything except an earthquake. And the earthquake was about to arrive in the form of a dying man's desperate request. The voice on the phone was hesitant, unfamiliar, yet somehow recognizable. "Amara, this is Dominic. Please do not hang up." Her heart stopped. She almost did hang up. Victor's brother was the wound that never healed, the name that made her husband's eyes go cold. Speaking to him felt like betrayal even before a single word was exchanged. "What do you want?" "I need to meet with you. In person. Not Victor. I know he will not see me." A pause that felt like it contained years of pain. "I am dying, Amara. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer. The doctors say 6 months, maybe less." The words hit her like a physical blow. "Dominic, I am not calling for sympathy. I am calling because before I die, I need to make things right with my brother. I have letters, documents, evidence that explains what really happened with our father's money." His voice cracked. "But Victor will not listen to me. He will not even open my emails. You are the only person he trusts completely. I need you to help me reach him." Amara's mind raced through the implications. Victor would be furious if he knew she was even having this conversation. He'd made his feelings about Dominic abundantly clear. His brother was dead to him. The subject was closed. Forever. But this was not just about old grievances anymore. This was about a dying man's final wish, about the possibility of healing a wound that had shaped Victor's entire adult life. She should tell Victor immediately. She should refuse to get involved. She should do anything except what she actually did. "I will meet you. Tell me where." And in that moment, with the purest intentions and the deepest love, Amara Reyes set in motion the chain of events that would destroy her marriage. The first meeting took place in Milan, during one of Victor's business trips, a quiet cafe away from anywhere Amara might be recognized. She arrived early, nervous, questioning every step that had brought her to this moment. Then she saw Dominic. He looked nothing like the charming younger brother Victor had described. The man who slid into the chair across from her was thin, graying, visibly ill. His skin had the pallor of someone whose body was consuming itself from within. But his eyes were Victor's eyes. The same intensity, the same depth, the same capacity for feeling that ran beneath whatever surface they presented to the world. "Thank you for coming." His voice was weaker than it had been on the phone. "I almost did not. I know, and I know what this costs you. If Victor finds out, he will not find out. Not until the time is right." Dominic studied her for a long moment. "You love him very much." "Yes, he does not deserve you." Amara was quiet. She had thought the same thing during Victor's long absences, during the lonely nights and the broken promises and the partnership that had become parenthood performed alone. But she had never said it out loud, and hearing it from Dominic felt like betrayal of a different kind. "Tell me what happened with your father's money. The truth." Dominic's hands wrapped around his coffee cup, seeking warmth despite the summer heat. Father was dying slowly, for almost 2 years, and during those 2 years, Victor was building his empire. He visited when he could, but he could not very often. No judgment in his voice, just fact. "I was there, every day. I quit my job, moved back home, held his hand through the pain, managed his medications, read to him when he could no longer focus on the pages himself." His eyes grew distant, and Father was grateful. More grateful than I had ever seen him. He kept saying he wished Victor could be there, but he understood why Victor could not. The business was Victor's way of loving him, building something that would honor the family name. He paused, took a shaky breath. The money was Father's idea. He insisted, said it was payment for my time, for the career I had sacrificed, for the 2 years of my life I had given him when his eldest son could not. "And you took it?" I did not want to. It felt wrong, but Father was so insistent. He said he was afraid he would die without making sure both his sons were provided for. Victor would inherit the business. The money was my inheritance. Early, the coffee sat untouched between them. I tried to explain this to Victor when he confronted me, but he would not listen. He had already decided I was a thief. He had already decided that what he thought he saw was the only possible interpretation. Dominic reached into his jacket and produced a folder. I have Father's letters, his handwriting, explaining why he gave me the money. I have the bank records showing the transfers were initiated by him, not by me. I have a video. His voice broke. Father made a video, near the end, when he knew Victor would not come in time. He wanted Victor to understand, to forgive me, to know that I was not the villain Victor had decided I was. Amara took the folder, her hands trembling slightly. "Why did you not show Victor this before?" Pride. Dominic's laugh was bitter, hurt. He accused me without asking, condemned me without evidence. I told myself, if he could believe the worst of me so easily, then maybe he did not deserve the truth. He looked at her directly. I was wrong, and now I am dying. And the only thing I want before I leave this world is for my brother to know I never betrayed him. I never betrayed our father. I loved them both. I just loved them in a different way than Victor did. Amara opened the folder. She saw the letters in an elderly man's shaking handwriting, the bank statements showing authorized transfers, the documentation that would change everything Victor believed about his brother. Why me? Why not send this directly to Victor? Because he will not open anything from me. He has me blocked everywhere. Any package from me would be returned or destroyed. Dominic leaned forward. But you, he trusts. If you show him this, if you prepare him first, make him open his mind enough to see the evidence, maybe he will finally understand. Amara looked at the dying man across from her, saw Victor's eyes in a face ravaged by illness, saw a brother who had spent 8 years in exile for a crime he never committed, and she made her choice. I will help you, but we need to do this carefully. If Victor learns about these meetings before he is ready to hear the truth, he will see it as confirmation of everything he already believes. I understand. No meetings at the house, no contact that could be traced. Everything happens during his business trips. Agreed. And, Dominic, this may not work. He may refuse to listen no matter how carefully we approach it. You need to prepare yourself for that possibility. I know, but I have to try. I cannot die with this unresolved. I cannot leave this world knowing my brother hates me for something I did not do. Amara reached across the table, took his thin hand in hers. We will try. That is all we can do. The meetings continued over the following months, always during Victor's business trips, always in private locations, always careful, discreet, protective of both brothers. Amara learned things about Victor she had never known, stories from their childhood, the complicated dynamics of a family where the mother left and the father withdrew, the way Victor had always been the responsible one, the achiever, the son who earned love through accomplishment because he did not know any other way. She learned about the father she had never met, a man more complex than Victor's memories allowed, a man who loved both his sons but expressed that love in different languages. Achievement for Victor, presence for Dominic. She accompanied Dominic to medical appointments when his regular caretaker was unavailable, held his hand during chemotherapy sessions, listened as the treatments failed one by one, and she watched him decline. The cancer was aggressive. Each month took more from him. His weight dropped. His energy faded. The window for reconciliation was closing. We need to accelerate, Amara said during one of their meetings. You are running out of time, and Victor is still not ready. I know. Dominic's voice was weaker now. Speaking tired him. There is an experimental treatment, a specialist in Rome. They have agreed to see me. If it works, it could buy me another year, maybe more. That is wonderful. If it does not work, he did not finish the sentence, then we will find another way. Amara squeezed his hand. I will come to Rome with you for the consultation. Victor has meetings in Milan that week. He will never know. You are risking everything for this. I am risking everything because I love him, and because you are his family. He just does not know it yet. Rome was supposed to be safe. Victor's Milan meetings were scheduled for 3 days. Amara flew to Rome, accompanied Dominic to the specialist, and prepared to fly home before Victor finished his business. They stayed at the same hotel Victor used when he was in Rome, the one they had designed together years ago. It felt appropriate somehow, the place where Amara had done her best work, now the backdrop for her most important mission. The specialist's appointment was scheduled for afternoon. They met in Dominic's suite that morning to review his medical records and prepare questions for the doctor. And that was when Victor arrived. His Milan meetings had been canceled at the last minute. The investors had postponed. Rather than waste the trip, he had decided to surprise Amara at their Rome hotel. Check in. Have dinner waiting when she returned from whatever shopping or museum visit was filling her day. He stopped at the spa floor first. Amara sometimes got treatments there when she traveled. She was not at the spa. Have you seen Mrs. Castellan today? The spa receptionist checked her records. No, sir. She has not booked any appointments. Strange. Victor checked with the concierge, the restaurants, the lobby bar. No sign of Amara anywhere. Then he noticed something in the hotel registry. A reservation under the name D. Castellan, his family name. On the 7th floor, his blood went cold. He took the elevator up, walked down the hallway, found the suite. The door was slightly ajar. Through the crack, he saw them. Amara and Dominic. sitting close together. Dominic's hands framing her face, both of them crying. The intimacy was unmistakable. The emotion was raw and visible and devastating. Victor did not enter, did not announce himself, did not ask a single question. He photographed them through the cracked door. Then he left. What he did not see, could not see from his position in the hallway. The medical documents spread across the table beside them. The specialist's card lying next to the phone. The pill bottles lined up on the bathroom counter. The context that would have explained everything. Dominic had just received devastating news. The experimental treatment was not an option. The cancer had spread too far. He had months, maybe weeks. Amara was holding him because he had just learned he was dying faster than anyone expected. She was crying because she was watching a man she had come to care about receive a death sentence. His hands were on her face because he was thanking her for being there, for caring, for giving him hope even when hope was running out. There was nothing romantic. There never could have been. Amara loved Victor with a completeness that left no room for anyone else. But Victor did not see love. He saw betrayal. He did not see compassion. He saw confirmation. He did not see his wife giving him the greatest gift he would ever receive. He saw her taking away the last thing he thought he could trust. By the time Amara returned home the next day, the divorce papers were already drafted. She never knew Victor had been in Rome. She never knew he had seen them through the cracked door. She never understood why the husband who had loved her completely suddenly treated her like a stranger who had broken into his life and stolen irreplaceable things. Because Victor never told her, never asked, never gave her the chance to explain that Dominic was dying, that she was trying to heal Victor's oldest wound, that the intimacy he witnessed was grief, not passion. Victor's silence killed his marriage as surely as any affair would have. He chose certainty over curiosity, execution over investigation, the story he already believed over the truth he never sought. And Amara, who had spent 2 years trying to give Victor the greatest gift possible, his brother's love, his father's final message, the truth that would have healed everything. She stood in their villa with divorce papers in her hands, condemned for a crime she never committed, silenced by a man who had already delivered his verdict. Right now, watching this story unfold, some of you are furious at Victor, some of you understand him, and some of you have been exactly where he was, holding what looked like proof and never imagining it could mean something different. I want you to pause for a moment and think. When was the last time you were absolutely certain about something and later discovered you were completely wrong? Drop that story in the comments, not to shame yourself, but to remind yourself that certainty is the enemy of truth. And if you are watching this thinking I need to know what happens, smash that like button, because we're about to enter the darkest chapter of this story. And then, finally, the light that comes after. The divorce proceedings were brutally efficient. Amara did not contest anything. What was the point? Her husband believed she was capable of the ultimate betrayal. No asset division could restore what that accusation had destroyed. No legal victory could rebuild what had been demolished without trial. She took the settlement Victor offered. The house, the money, the comfortable life, everything except acknowledgement of her innocence. Victor's lawyers handled everything. He refused direct contact. The man who had loved her for 12 years now communicated exclusively through attorneys. Amara tried to explain, wrote letters that were returned unopened, made calls that were blocked. Every door she approached slammed in her face. She even tried to tell him about Dominic's illness. Surely that would change everything. Surely knowing his brother was dying would break through Victor's walls. Her lawyer relayed the message. Victor's lawyer relayed the response. He is not interested in fabricated medical emergencies designed to excuse infidelity. Fabricated. He thought she was lying about Dominic's cancer. The cruelty of it took her breath away. Amara moved to Lisbon, started fresh in a city where no one knew her story, where she could walk down streets without seeing evidence of the life she had lost. She returned to design work, built a small firm from nothing, specialized in transitional spaces, hotels that felt like homes, homes that felt like healing. Her pain became her aesthetic, beauty born from brokenness, and she raised Lucia during the custody arrangements, never poisoning her daughter against Victor, never explaining what she had been accused of, never using her child as a weapon in a war she never wanted to fight. The restraint cost her everything, but she did it anyway. Because Lucia deserved to form her own opinions about her father based on his behavior, not on her mother's bitterness. Victor would hang himself with his own choices eventually. Amara did not need to help. Dominic died 14 months after the divorce, alone except for a hired nurse, in a hospice facility in Geneva. His brother never came. Amara flew to be with him in the final hours. She held his hand as he faded. The brother Victor abandoned died in the arms of the wife Victor discarded. The irony was almost unbearable. Tell him I loved him. Dominic's whisper was barely audible. Tell him everything I did was for him, even the things that looked like betrayal. I will try. Amara meant it. But she did not know yet that Victor would refuse every attempt, that her letters would be returned, her calls blocked, that the truth would have no path to reach him. Dominic Castellan died believing he had failed, and in a hospice room in Geneva, surrounded by medical equipment and hired strangers, the possibility of reconciliation died with him. Or so Amara believed. She did not know about the package Dominic had prepared, the letters and documents and videos he had assembled, the evidence that would prove everything if Victor would only look at it. The package was sent to Victor's address after Dominic's death, part of his estate, a final attempt to reach a brother who had refused every other approach. Victor never opened it. He saw the return address, recognized his brother's name, and he put the package in storage with all the other things from the life he was trying to forget. The truth sat in a cardboard box in a climate-controlled storage unit, waiting for the day when Victor would finally have the courage to look. That day would not come for years. And when it finally arrived, it would be too late to undo the damage, but not too late to understand what he had destroyed. This is the end of part 1. In part 2, you will witness Victor's hollow victory, the empire he built on the ruins of his marriage, the daughter who slowly turned against him, the unbearable weight of living in certainty while surrounded by evidence of his error. You will see the moment when the truth finally surfaces. The package opened, the video watched, the complete and devastating understanding of what he did to the woman who loved him most. And you will see whether redemption is possible, whether the damage can be repaired, whether love can survive even the wounds we inflict upon each other. But for now, I need to know what you are feeling. Are you furious at Victor? Do you understand him? Have you been exactly where he was, holding what looked like proof and never imagining it could mean something different? Comment below and tell me, I have been Victor, or I have been Amara, or I have been both. Subscribe if you have not already, because the second half of this story will show you what grace actually looks like when it is earned through fire. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who has made permanent decisions based on temporary observations, someone who has been wrongly accused, someone who needs to believe that truth eventually surfaces, even when it seems buried forever. In part 1, you witnessed the destruction of a marriage built on 12 years of love. You watched Victor Castellan deliver divorce papers to his wife Amara based on a photograph he took through a cracked hotel door, a photograph that showed his wife in his dying brother's arms, a photograph that confirmed every fear Victor had ever had about betrayal and trust. But the photograph lied. Amara was not having an affair with Dominic. She was helping a dying man reconcile with his brother. She was trying to give Victor the greatest gift anyone had ever offered him, the truth about what really happened with their father's money. The letters and documents that proved Dominic was innocent, the chance to heal a wound that had shaped Victor's entire adult life. And Victor destroyed her for it. Dominic died 14 months after the divorce, alone, in a hospice in Geneva. His brother never came. The reconciliation Amara had risked everything to achieve never happened. But Dominic left behind a package, letters, documents, a video explaining everything, evidence that would prove his innocence if Victor would only look at it. Victor never opened it. For years, the truth sat in a storage box, waiting, while Victor built his empire on the ruins of his marriage, while Amara rebuilt her life in Lisbon, while their daughter, Lucia, grew up shuttling between parents who could not stand to be in the same room. Now, in part 2, you will witness what happens when certainty begins to crack, when a daughter's question pierces armor that nothing else could penetrate, when a man finally opens the package he should have opened years ago, and you will discover whether redemption is possible, whether the damage can be repaired, whether love can survive even the wounds we inflict upon each other. This is the rest of the story. Victor Castellan's empire flourished in the years after his divorce. The Castellan Hospitality Group expanded into Asian markets, acquired properties across the Middle East, opened flagship hotels in cities that had once seemed beyond reach. Magazine covers celebrated his vision. Industry awards accumulated on shelves that stretched across entire walls. Business schools taught case studies about his strategic brilliance. He had everything except the things that could not be purchased or acquired or negotiated. His marriage was gone. His brother had died without reconciliation. His daughter was increasingly distant. His house was full of beautiful objects and completely empty of warmth. Victor told himself he had done the right thing. Betrayal could not be tolerated. He had protected himself from people who would hurt him. He had maintained his standards, his integrity, his refusal to be made a fool. The story he told himself was clean and simple. His wife had cheated with his brother. He had discovered the truth. He had acted decisively. Clean, simple, complete. Except for the nights when doubt crept in uninvited, when he lay awake in his penthouse bedroom and questions surfaced that he could not push away. Why would Amara risk everything so carelessly? She knew he had meetings in Milan. She knew he might return early. If she was having an affair, why conduct it in a hotel where they might be recognized? Why was she crying? The photograph showed tears on her face, not the tears of passion or pleasure, the tears of grief. Why did Dominic's hands frame her face like that? Not possessively, not romantically, almost tenderly, like someone comforting rather than seducing. Victor pushed the questions away. He had evidence. He had the photograph. He had seen what he had seen, but the questions returned, night after night, year after year, quiet and persistent, like water wearing away stone. He never looked at the photograph anymore, because looking at it raised questions he was not prepared to answer. Lucia Castellan was 14 years old when she stopped pretending. For years she had maintained the careful neutrality that children of divorce learn to perform, loving both parents, blaming neither, navigating between two worlds that could not touch each other. But neutrality requires energy, and Lucia was tired. Her visits with her father had become obligations rather than reunions. He was always distracted, always checking his phone, always taking calls that could not wait. He bought her expensive gifts that she did not want, took her to restaurants where they sat in silence, provided every material comfort while offering almost no emotional presence. Her mother, by contrast, was fully there, present, engaged, interested in Lucia's thoughts and feelings and dreams. The contrast grew sharper every year, and Lucia began to form her own conclusions about what had happened between her parents. She knew only the outline. Her parents had divorced when she was 8. Her mother had moved to Lisbon. Her father had stayed in Italy. The details were never discussed, but children are observant, and Lucia had observed. Her father's rigid certainty about everything, his inability to admit vulnerability or error, his way of cutting people off completely when they disappointed him, her mother's sadness that never quite went away, her refusal to speak badly of Victor despite obvious provocation, her patience with a man who had clearly hurt her deeply. Something did not add up, and Lucia was tired of pretending she did not notice. The confrontation came during one of her obligatory visits. They were sitting at dinner in Victor's penthouse. The chef had prepared an elaborate meal that neither of them was eating. The silence between them had grown so thick it was almost visible. Victor set down his fork. "Why do you hate me?" The question came out more wounded than he intended. Lucia looked at him, really looked, with her mother's eyes and her father's directness. "I do not hate you." "Then why do these visits feel like punishment? For both of us?" Lucia was quiet for a long moment, weighing her words, deciding whether to finally say what she had been thinking for years. "I do not hate you," she repeated. "I just do not understand you." "What do not you understand?" "How you could throw away someone who loved you as much as Mom did, without even letting her explain." Victor's face went rigid. "Your mother betrayed me." "Did she?" The question hung in the air. "Did she?" Lucia repeated. "Or did you just decide she did because trusting her was scarier than destroying everything? You do not know what happened. Then tell me. Tell me what was so terrible that you divorced her without warning, that you have not spoken to her directly in 6 years, that you cannot even be in the same room with her for my school events." Victor's hands clenched on the table. She was with my brother in a hotel room. I saw them together, and that was enough. Seeing them in the same room was enough to end 12 years of marriage. They were in each other's arms, crying, his hands on her face. So you saw two people who might have been upset about something, and you assumed the worst without asking. I did not need to ask. I knew what I saw. Lucia shook her head slowly. You know what I see, Dad? I see a man who is so afraid of being hurt that he destroys things before they can disappoint him. I see someone who would rather be right than be happy, who would rather have certainty than have love. That is not fair. Is it not? When was the last time you admitted you were wrong about anything? When was the last time you asked a question instead of delivering a verdict? Victor had no answer. Lucia pushed back from the table. Mom never said a bad word about you. Not once. Even when I could tell she wanted to. Even when you made her life difficult with the custody arrangements and the lawyers and the silence. Her voice cracked. She protected you, to me, and you could not even give her the chance to explain herself before you threw her away. Lucia, I am going to bed. We can pretend this conversation did not happen tomorrow, if that makes you more comfortable. She walked out, leaving Victor alone with an elaborate meal he could not eat and questions he could no longer avoid. That night, Victor could not sleep. Lucia's words echoed in the silence of his penthouse. The certainty he had wrapped around himself for years suddenly felt less like armor and more like a cage. Did she? Or did you just decide she did because trusting her was scarier than destroying everything? He got out of bed, walked through his apartment, past the awards and the beautiful objects and the evidence of his success, found himself standing in front of his storage room. He had not entered this room in years. It contained boxes from the life he had ended, wedding photographs, design portfolios Amara had created, gifts they had given each other, and one package he had never opened, the package from Dominic's estate. Victor stood in the doorway for a long time, his hand on the light switch, his heart pounding with something he refused to call fear. What if Lucia was right? What if he had destroyed everything based on an assumption he never tested? He turned on the light. The storage room was immaculate, climate controlled, everything in labeled boxes arranged with the same precision Victor brought to his business operations. He found the package quickly, a padded envelope with Dominic's name in the return address, forwarded by his brother's estate 2 years after his death. Victor had seen the return address, recognized the handwriting, and he had put the package in storage without opening it. Dominic was a thief, a betrayer. Nothing he had to say could matter. That was the story Victor had told himself. Now, holding the package in his hands, he wondered if the story was true. He sat down on a storage box, took a deep breath, and opened the envelope. Inside were documents, a thick folder of papers, and a thumb drive labeled in Dominic's handwriting. For Victor, please watch. Victor opened the folder first. Letters, in their father's handwriting, the shaky script of an elderly man writing near the end of his life. My dear Dominic, I want you to know that the money I have given you is not charity, and it is not theft. It is payment for 2 years of your life, for the career you sacrificed, for the presence you gave me when I needed it most. Your brother loves me. I know this, but he loves me through achievement, through building, through honoring the family name with success. You love me through being here, through holding my hand in the night, through reading to me when my eyes no longer work. Both kinds of love are real, but in these final months, I need the kind of love you give. Victor will not understand. He sees the world in absolutes, right and wrong, loyal and disloyal. He will see the money and think you have stolen from a dying man, but I am giving it freely because you have given me something money cannot buy. You have given me peace in my final days. Please, when I am gone, try to explain this to your brother. Help him understand that there is more than one way to show love, that his absence was not abandonment, but neither was your presence theft. I love you both, differently, but equally. Your father. Victor's hands trembled as he turned the page. More letters, bank statements showing authorized transfers, not unauthorized withdrawals from the company, but direct transfers from their father's personal account, documented, dated, initiated by their father himself. Dominic had not stolen anything. Their father had given him that money, directly, knowingly, in gratitude for care that Victor had been too busy to provide. The realization hit Victor like a physical blow. He had cut his brother off for 8 years over a lie he had invented himself. He had refused to ask questions, refused to hear explanations, refused to believe anything except the story that confirmed his worst fears. And Dominic had died in exile, loving Victor to the end, never receiving reconciliation. Victor could barely breathe. But the letters were not the worst part. The thumb drive was the worst part. He took it to his laptop, inserted it, clicked on the single video file. Dominic's face appeared on screen. He was thin, graying, visibly ill, the face of a man who knew he was dying and had made peace with it, but his eyes were full of love. "Victor, if you are watching this, I am probably gone." Dominic's voice cracked. "I wanted to tell you myself, everything, the money, Father's letters, the truth about what happened, but you would not let me close enough. You blocked my emails, returned my letters, refused my calls. A weak smile. You were always stubborn, even when we were children. Once you decided something, nothing could change your mind." The smile faded, so I asked Amara to help. Victor stopped breathing. She agreed, because she loves you more than you will ever deserve, honestly. She saw how much the wound between us was hurting you, how it shaped everything you did, how it made you expect betrayal everywhere you looked. Dominic coughed, took a moment to recover. She risked everything to heal our family, spent 2 years meeting with me in secret, listening to my story, gathering evidence, preparing to help you understand what really happened. His eyes grew wet. "I know what you probably saw in Rome. I know how it looked. 2 people in a hotel room, crying, holding each other." A tear slid down his cheek. "Victor, I had just found out I was dying, faster than anyone expected. The experimental treatment was not an option. The cancer had spread too far. I had months, maybe weeks." His voice broke completely. "Amara was there because you were not, because you would not be. She held me because no one else would, because I had just received a death sentence and the only person who came was your wife." Dominic wiped his face with a thin hand. "There was nothing romantic. There never could have been. She loves you with a completeness I have never seen in anyone. Every meeting we had, every conversation, every moment of care she showed me, it was all for you. To give you back your brother, to heal the wound that was destroying you from the inside." He leaned closer to the camera. "And you are going to lose her forever if you do not open your eyes." Silence. Dominic gathering himself for his final words. "I forgive you, Victor, for the accusation, for the 8 years of silence, for not being there when I died. I forgive you because holding on to anger takes energy I do not have." His voice softened. "But I need you to do something for me. When you finish watching this, when you finally understand what happened, do not just forgive yourself. Fix it. Go to Amara. Tell her you were wrong. Tell her you are sorry, not because it will undo the damage, but because she deserves to hear it. After everything she sacrificed for you, she deserves to hear that you finally understand." Dominic looked directly into the camera, into Victor's eyes. "I love you, brother. I always did, even when you hated me, even when you believed the worst of me. I never stopped loving you." A weak smile. "Tell Lucia about me. Tell her that her uncle loved her even though he never got to meet her. Tell her that family is not just blood. It is the people who show up when you need them." His eyes closed. "Goodbye, Victor. I hope you find peace. I hope you find your way back to the people who love you. Please, do not let my death be meaningless. Use it to become the man I always knew you could be." The video ended. Victor sat in the darkness of his storage room, surrounded by boxes from the life he had destroyed. He watched the video 3 times. Each viewing stripped away another layer of certainty, another brick from the wall he had built around his heart, another lie he had told himself to justify the unjustifiable. He had destroyed his marriage over nothing. He had accused his wife of betrayal when she was performing an act of extraordinary love. He had condemned his brother to die in exile for a crime that was never committed. The weight of it crushed him. Years. He had wasted years. His daughter had grown up without him fully present. His wife had built a new life without him. His brother had died without reconciliation. All because Victor Castellan was so afraid of being hurt that he struck first, destroyed first, ran first. He'd been running his entire life. From the mother who left, from the father who withdrew, from the brother he thought had betrayed him. And now he was alone, surrounded by success that meant nothing, evidence of achievement that could not comfort him. The sun rose. Victor sat in that storage room watching light creep across the floor, marking the passage of hours he could not get back, time he had wasted on certainty when he should have been practicing humility. What now? The question was overwhelming. How do you apologize for destroying someone's life? How do you earn back trust you shattered into pieces? How do you restore what you burned to the ground? You cannot. The damage was permanent. Some things, once broken, could never be fully repaired, but you could try. Victor stood up. His legs were stiff from hours of sitting. His eyes were raw from tears he had not known he was capable of crying. He did not know if Amara would see him, did not know if she had moved on completely, did not know if redemption was possible after everything he had done. But he knew he had to try, not because he expected forgiveness, but because she deserved to hear what he should have said years ago. The truth. Finally. Too late, but not never. Finding Amara was easier than Victor expected. Her design firm had grown into an internationally recognized practice. She spoke at conferences, won awards, built the career she had put on hold during their marriage. She was more successful now than she had ever been with him. The irony was not lost on Victor. By trying to destroy her, he had forced her to become undeniable. She was scheduled to speak at a design conference in Venice. 3 days away, Victor cleared his calendar, canceled meetings that would have seemed essential a week ago. Nothing was more essential than this. He flew to Venice, checked into a hotel near the conference center, spent 2 days rehearsing what he would say. Every version sounded inadequate. How could words possibly carry the weight of what he needed to communicate? I was wrong. 3 words that had never come easily to him. 3 words that now seemed like the most important he would ever speak. The conference was held in a converted palazzo. Crystal chandeliers reflected in marble floors, arched windows overlooking the Grand Canal. Victor stood at the back of the auditorium as Amara took the stage. She was more beautiful than he remembered. Stronger, more settled into her own power. The uncertain young designer he had met in Barcelona had become someone who commanded rooms with her presence. She spoke about transitional spaces, hotels that felt like homes, homes that felt like healing. Her voice was confident. Her ideas were compelling. And Victor heard echoes of the woman he had fallen in love with in every word she said. But there was something else in her voice too, a depth that came from having survived something, a wisdom born from pain. He had given her that pain. The presentation ended. Applause filled the room. Victor watched as colleagues and admirers surrounded her, offering congratulations, asking questions, seeking her attention. He waited. An hour passed, then 2. The crowd thinned. Amara gathered her materials, preparing to leave. Victor approached. Amara. She turned at the sound of his voice. Her expression moved through surprise, pain, and finally a careful neutrality that hurt more than hatred would have. Victor, I need to speak with you. Please. Her jaw tightened. You had years to speak with me. You chose silence. I chose wrong. About everything. I know that now. Something flickered in her eyes. Hope, or maybe just exhaustion. What changed? I opened Dominic's package. I read the letters, watched the videos. Victor's voice cracked. I understand what you were doing, what you sacrificed, what I destroyed. Amara was quiet for a long moment, processing, deciding whether to engage or walk away. Dominic wanted so desperately to reconcile with you. Her voice was soft, sad. He died believing he had failed. He did not fail. Victor stepped closer, close enough to see the lines that time and pain had etched around her eyes. I failed. I failed him. I failed you. I failed Lucia by making her choose between parents when there should never have been a choice to make. Amara studied him, looking for the catch, the manipulation, the angle. Apologies do not restore what is gone. I know. Then what do you want from me? The question was fair. After everything he had done, he had no right to want anything from her. I am not asking for restoration. I'm asking for the chance to earn the conversation I should have given you 6 years ago. The conversation where you actually listen. Yes, where you ask questions instead of delivering verdicts. Yes, where my words matter as much as your assumptions. Yes, Amara looked at him. Really looked, searching his face for the sincerity she needed to see. Why should I believe you have changed? You should not. Words mean nothing after what I did. The only thing that matters is action over time. Victor took a breath. I am not asking you to trust me. I'm asking for the chance to earn trust through changed behavior, through accountability, through proving I can be different than I was. That could take years. I know. You might never forgive me fully. I know that too. Then why bother? Why not just move on with your life? Victor was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts, choosing his words carefully, because I watched a video of my dying brother telling me that the woman I threw away loved me with a completeness he had never seen in anyone. His voice shook, because I have spent 6 years building an empire that means nothing. I have all the success I ever dreamed of, and I have never been more alone. He looked at her directly. Because my daughter asked me if I destroyed our family because trusting you was scarier than losing you. And I realized she was right. Lucia said that last week, before I opened the package. She saw through me when I could not see through myself. Amara's expression softened slightly. She is a remarkable young woman. She is. Despite me, not because of me. The silence between them stretched. Not hostile, not comfortable. Just two people standing in the wreckage of what they had once been, deciding whether to sift through the rubble. There is a cafe around the corner. Amara finally spoke. If you want to have this conversation, we can have it there, in public, where I can leave if I need to. Victor nodded. Whatever you need. They walked together through the narrow streets of Venice, not touching, not speaking, just moving toward a destination that neither of them could fully imagine. The cafe was small, quiet. Tables overlooking a minor canal where gondolas occasionally passed. They ordered coffee neither of them would drink, sat across from each other, two strangers who had once been lovers, two enemies who might become something else. Amara spoke first. Ask your questions. Victor was confused. My questions? You never asked me anything. 6 years ago, you delivered a verdict and walked away. So now I'm giving you the chance you never gave me. Ask your questions. I will answer them honestly. Victor understood. This was not just about getting information. This was about proving he could be the person who asked instead of assumed, who listened instead of judged, who sought truth instead of confirmation. He took a breath. What were you doing in Rome? Dominic had an appointment with a cancer specialist, an experimental treatment that might have extended his life. I went with him because his regular caretaker was unavailable, and because I had come to care about him as family. Why did not you tell me about his illness? I tried. After you served the divorce papers, I wrote letters explaining everything. You returned them unopened. I told my lawyer to tell your lawyer. You dismissed it as a fabricated medical emergency. She met his eyes directly. I tried, Victor. You would not listen. The shame of it washed over him. Why did not you tell me earlier? Before Rome, because you would not have believed me. You had already decided Dominic was a thief and a liar. If I told you I was meeting with him, you would have assumed I was being manipulated, or that I was betraying you by even talking to him. She was right. He would have assumed exactly that. How long were you meeting with him? Almost 2 years. During your business trips, we were working together to prepare you to hear the truth about your father's money, to soften your heart enough that you might actually listen. 2 years. 2 years of secret meetings, of careful planning, of building toward a reconciliation that Victor destroyed with one photograph and one assumption. Did you ever consider just telling me outright? Every day. But Dominic knew you better than anyone. He said you needed to be approached carefully, that dumping the truth on you would make you defensive, that you had to be led to a place where you could actually hear it. She paused. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe I should have just forced the conversation, but I was trying to protect you from yourself, trying to give you a gift without you knowing you were receiving it. Victor was quiet for a long moment. I am sorry. The words sounded weak, inadequate, for accusing you, for not listening, for not asking a single question before destroying everything. He looked at her, for making you grieve alone when Dominic died. for letting you carry this for 6 years without acknowledgement. Amara's eyes were wet. Do you understand what you took from me? I think so. No, you do not. She leaned forward. You took my reputation. People in our social circle whispered about the woman who cheated with her husband's brother. Colleagues who used to respect me looked at me differently. Her voice shook. You took my daughter. Not completely, but partially. 6 years of custody arrangements that made me the weekend parent. 6 years of missing school events and bedtime routines. And you took my ability to trust. Every relationship since you. Every time someone got close, I heard your voice in my head telling me that I was not worth believing, that my words meant nothing, that I could be erased on the basis of one photograph. Victor felt the weight of every accusation. I know apologies do not restore what was taken. No, they do not. Then tell me what would. Not to restore everything. I know that is impossible. But to begin, what would beginning look like? Amara considered the question. Therapy. For you. Not couples therapy. Individual work to understand why you chose destruction over communication. Done. Already started. Public acknowledgement. Not to the press, but to the people who knew us. Correction of the narrative you created. I will do that. Time. Years of changed behavior. Not promises. Not grand gestures. Consistent daily evidence that you have become someone different. Victor nodded. What else? Patience. Understanding that I may never fully forgive you. That trust, once shattered, may never be completely restored. Can you accept that? Yes. And Lucia, a full access. No more custody battles. No more lawyers negotiating visitation. She decides where she wants to be and when, without pressure from either of us. Agreed. Amara sat back. That is the beginning. The bare minimum of what accountability would look like. Then I will do all of it. Victor spoke without hesitation, not because I expect forgiveness, but because you deserve accountability regardless of whether it leads anywhere. They sat in silence, the coffee growing cold between them. This does not mean we are reconciled. Amara finally spoke. I know. It means I am willing to watch you try. Nothing more. That is more than I deserve. Yes, it is. She stood. I am going back to my hotel now. I need to process this. Do not contact me. I will contact you when I am ready. How will I know if you are ever ready? You will not. That is part of what trusting feels like. She looked at him one last time. Goodbye, Victor. She walked out. Victor sat alone in the cafe, watching gondolas pass on the canal, thinking about everything he had destroyed and everything he might possibly be allowed to rebuild. The journey was just beginning. What happened next took years, not months. Not the compressed timeline of romantic movies where grand gestures solve everything. Years. Victor went to therapy, twice a week at first, then weekly, unpacking the wounds that had made him who he was. The mother who left, the father who withdrew, the brother he had wrongly accused. He learned about himself, about the wounded child who had decided trust was dangerous, about the adult who struck first because being hurt was unbearable. About the patterns he had repeated in every relationship without ever understanding why. He made public acknowledgement, dinner gatherings where he stood before people who had known them as a couple and explained that he had been wrong, that Amara had never betrayed him, that the narrative of her infidelity had been his creation, not her action. Some people believed him. Others remained skeptical. The correction of rumor was slower than it spread. He gave Lucia full access. No more negotiations through lawyers. She came and went as she pleased. Gradually, she began to choose his presence more often, not because he demanded it, because he had changed enough that his presence was actually enjoyable, and he waited for Amara. She contacted him 3 months after Venice. A text message, nothing romantic. Lucia wants us both at her school play. Can you be civil? I can be more than civil. They sat in the same row, did not speak beyond what was necessary, but they were there. Together, for their daughter. 6 months later, another message. Therapy is going well? It is. Difficult, but necessary. Good. Keep going. A year later, an email. The foundation Dominic left in his will. I have been managing it since he died. Would you like to be involved? He would. They began working together, professionally, carefully. building something in Dominic's name that honored his memory and his wish for reconciliation. 18 months after Venice. Dinner. This is not a date. Amara was clear from the beginning. This is two people who share a daughter and a foundation discussing matters of mutual interest. Understood. But the dinner lasted 3 hours, and the matters of mutual interest expanded beyond Lucia and the foundation. They talked about their lives, their work, their growth. Victor told her about his therapy breakthroughs, the realizations that had fundamentally changed how he understood himself. Amara told him about the years after the divorce, the rebuilding, the struggle, the eventual thriving. They discovered that they were not the same people who had divorced. They were older, wiser, scarred, and, possibly, carefully, compatible. 2 years after Venice. The first time they touched, not romantically. Amara reached across the table to adjust his collar. Her fingers brushed his neck. They both felt it. They both pretended they did not. 3 years after Venice. The first admission. I think I might be falling for you again. Victor said it first. Amara's response was measured. That terrifies me. I know. What if you hurt me again? I cannot promise I will not. I can only promise I will fight every day to be different than I was. She looked at him. I think I might be falling for you too, and that terrifies me even more than you're falling for me. They did not kiss that night, but they held hands in the car afterward, like teenagers who had just discovered something precious and fragile. 4 years after Venice. The proposal. Victor did not plan it. They were walking through the Seville Hotel, the one they had designed together, the courtyard where they had married the first time. I want to do this right. He stopped in the center of the courtyard, by the fountain that Amara had identified as the heart of the space. Not because I expect you to say yes, not because I think I deserve another chance, but because I cannot imagine my life without you in it. He did not have a ring, had not planned a speech. I know I destroyed us once. I know I may not deserve the opportunity to try again. But if you would consider, if there is any possibility, he looked at her. Would you marry me again? Amara was quiet for a long time. On conditions. Tell me. We go to couples therapy, before and after. This marriage gets professional support. Agreed. We communicate, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. No more silence. No more assumptions. No more verdicts without trials. Agreed. And if you ever accuse me of something without asking me first. She stepped closer. I leave. Immediately. Without discussion. Victor nodded. If I ever do that again, you should leave. She studied his face. Then yes. 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 I will marry you again. God help me. The wedding was small. Tuesday afternoon. The Seville Hotel courtyard. Lucia as witness. No photographers. No magazine coverage. No spectacle. Just two people who had survived the worst of each other, deciding to build again. The vows were different this time. Victor spoke first. I promise to ask before I accuse, to trust before I suspect, to fight for our marriage before I fight against you. He held her hands. I promise to be patient with my own growth, to keep doing the work that makes me safe for you, to never again let certainty become a weapon. Amara responded. I promise to tell you truths, even when they are difficult, to demand better of you because I believe you are capable, to stay not because leaving is impossible, but because being with you is what I choose. She squeezed his hands. I promise to keep healing my own wounds so I do not use them against you, to trust the man you have become while remembering the man you were, to build something new instead of trying to recreate what we lost. Lucia stood as witness, crying happy tears she would later deny. Do you, Victor, take Amara to be your wife? I do. Do you, Amara, take Victor to be your husband? I do. They exchanged rings, simple bands that matched the ones they had worn before. By the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. They kissed, in the courtyard of the hotel that had brought them together, in the space Amara had identified as the heart of the building. Coming home, at last. They were not the same people who had married before. That was the point. The first marriage had been built on promise and hope, and the optimism of people who had not yet been tested. This marriage was built on failure and forgiveness, and the hard-won wisdom of people who had survived their own worst impulses. It was not a fairy tale. The damage could not be fully undone. There were moments when old wounds surfaced, when trust wavered, when the ghosts of what Victor had done haunted the spaces between them. But they had tools now: therapy, communication, the commitment to fight for each other instead of against each other. And they had Lucia, watching her parents rebuild what her father had destroyed, learning that mistakes do not have to be permanent, that redemption is possible for those willing to do the work. Dominic's foundation grew, funding cancer research and supporting families affected by the disease that had taken him. A living memorial to the brother Victor had wrongly accused and finally honored. Victor spoke about Dominic at foundation events, publicly acknowledging what his brother had really been: not a thief, a caretaker, a man who showed love through presence when Victor could only show it through achievement. The story changed. Not easily, not quickly, but definitively. The narrative of Victor Castellan shifted from ruthless businessman who discarded his unfaithful wife to flawed man who destroyed something precious and spent years earning the right to try again. Neither version was complete, but the second one was truer. And Amara became known not as the woman Victor accused, but as the woman who rebuilt herself, who turned pain into purpose, who emerged from destruction more powerful than before. Her design firm expanded. Her conference speaking increased. Her influence grew, not because of Victor, not despite Victor, because of who she had become through the entire journey. She had been wrongly accused, publicly humiliated, discarded by the person who should have trusted her most, and she had survived, thrived, become undeniable. That was her legacy, not what Victor said about her, not the rumors that had circulated, not the story he had created. Her legacy was what she built when no one was watching, who she became when the world had dismissed her, the life she created from the rubble of the one that was destroyed. If this story has shown you anything, I hope it is this: assumption is the silent killer of love. We see what we expect to see. We interpret through the lens of our wounds. We make permanent decisions based on temporary observations. Victor lost 6 years of his marriage and his brother's entire final chapter because he chose certainty over curiosity, because he chose accusation over investigation, because he chose his own pain over his wife's explanation. How many relationships end the same way? How many loves are destroyed, not by actual betrayal, but by suspected betrayal that was never actually verified? The photograph Victor took through that cracked hotel door was real. What it showed actually happened. His wife was in his brother's arms. Both of them were crying. But the meaning he assigned to that image was fiction. A story he invented because it confirmed what he already believed about betrayal and trust. The greatest power is not being right. It is being willing to discover you were wrong and to do the work of making it right. Victor eventually did that work, years too late, but not never. And because he did that work, his story did not end in destruction. It ended in reconstruction, not the same marriage, something different, something earned through fire instead of inherited through romance. Maybe that is the deeper truth. First marriages are built on promise. Second chances are built on proof. The wedding you dream about as a child is fantasy. The commitment you rebuild as an adult after failure, after pain, after learning who you really are and what you are really capable of, that is real. Victor and Amara's second marriage was not a fairy tale. It was better than a fairy tale. It was true. Now I need to ask you something. Have you ever made a permanent decision based on a temporary observation? Have you ever been so certain about something that you never asked if you were right? Have you ever destroyed something precious because trusting it was scarier than losing it? Comment below and tell me your story, not to shame yourself, but to remind yourself that you are not alone, that most of us have been Victor at some point, and most of us have been Amara too. The question is not whether you have made mistakes. The question is what you do next. Will you keep defending your certainty, or will you find the courage to ask the question you have been avoiding? Will you stay trapped in the story you created, or will you open the package that has been sitting in your storage room, waiting for you to finally look at the truth? The relationship you save might be your own. Subscribe if you have not already, because stories like this are what we do here on Billionaire Love Stories with Mr. Brad. Stories that break your heart before they heal it. Stories that show you the worst of human nature and then reveal the best. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who has been wrongly accused. Someone who has made permanent decisions based on temporary observations. Someone who needs to believe that truth eventually surfaces, even when it seems buried forever. And remember this, your assumptions are not evidence. Your suspicions are not facts. Your certainty, no matter how total, may be concealing truths that would change everything if you only had the courage to ask. Ask the question before you deliver the verdict. Hear the answer before you make the decision. Let truth, not assumption, determine what you destroy and what you save. This is Billionaire Love Stories with Mr. Brad, and I will see you in the next story. Until then, remember, it is never too late to ask the question you should have asked years ago. The answer might just change your life.